Hello, my name is Xonevant. Today is Friday, January the 3rd, and this is your Daily Dose. Alright guys, so a little bit of news for you guys today. Sony has actually filed a patent that will allow them to introduce new content into classic games being streamed through their new cloud service called Gaikai. Now the patent is best described like this, and I quote, "The ability to suspend gameplay in an emulated game and then introduce new content in a manner that doesn't involve reverse engineering the game's code." And then they basically go on to say that this would help to extend the longevity of older titles. Now what Sony's actually trying to do here, at least in my mind, is kind of ingenious. There's a lot of older games out there that are either really hard to find, super expensive, or to be honest, may just be a bit boring to want to go back and play, especially if you've played and beaten those games already. Now what this would do is actually give you a reason to go back and play some older titles. Now from what I can gather from this article, they're suggesting that things like increased character health, increased damage from enemies, new chest, new quest, things like that is stuff that you'll be able to do if this technology is introduced. Not to mention, because you'll be playing the games online, there may actually be challenges that will be introduced that you can play with your friends. So if this patent actually goes through, they could hypothetically revive any game in their library that they decide to apply this technology to and make it into a completely new, fresh experience. Now right off the bat, you guys know that I'm not a fan of digital distribution, at least not in the sense that I want it taken over the market 100%. Now on the flip side, a market shared with both physical media and digital media, but that's a bit more appealing for a gamer like myself. I think having a healthy balance between the two would just please both gamers, because I know that there are some gamers out there who want, their physical copy like myself, and then there are others who don't really care. They just want a game, and if they can get it digitally, they're down with that. So there's a huge part of me that absolutely loves this idea, and then there's a part of me that sides on caution, like I always do, and I just have a lot of questions. So I do like the idea of gamers being able to replay older games, especially if they can't find that physical copy, or maybe it's just too expensive because the market's so inflated because there's not enough copies to go around. And we do know that having digital copies out there does help to kind of balance out the pricing of the older games, especially in terms of the physical copies. I mean, let's just be honest here. Some of the older titles out there can sell for 2 or 3 times what we're paying for games right now. I also like the idea that this patent would make games available without any platform restrictions. I feel like these are reasonable benefits for us to get excited about. Now with that said, my worry is that this becomes very similar to what happens with movies and other forms of entertainment. Entertainment oftentimes just doesn't know when to quit. I mean, if you really think about it, how many movie franchises over the years should have just stopped, after that first movie, yet they went on for that trilogy? Or how many times have you seen singers and musicians try to squeak out one too many albums? I mean, at what point is enough enough? Now don't get me wrong, there are some games out there that would, benefit from having extra content added to them or things tweaked in the game, whether it's large or small. But then there are other games that may suffer if you start tweaking some of the content. Now you guys know, for me, it always comes down to price. At this time, we don't really know how much the Gaikai service is going to cost, if even anything at all. I mean, for all we know, this service could just be tacked on to the PlayStation Plus at no additional charge, or it could be a game-by-game type purchase model. I mean, who really knows? So the question I have is, will this kind of technology drive up the price of the Gaikai service, right? In other words, if a game was supposed to be $10, is it now going to be $20 because it has extra content? Or is the extra content going to be applied so that we'll actually use the Gaikai service? You know what I mean? Is that going to be a feature that appeals to us, or is that going to be a feature that we're charged for? And maybe it's going to be a little bit of both. I mean, like I said, no one really knows right now, but these are just the questions that are going on inside my mind right now. So I'm really liking the idea that we're getting more options as gamers, but it always comes down to price. I like options, that's never really a bad thing, but the price has to be justified. I feel the same way about the Xbox One right now. I don't hate the Xbox One. I'm ready to get the Xbox One. I just don't want to pay the extra $100 for those quote-unquote options that I'm getting for that console, because those are options that I never really plan on using. So for me, the price of $500 for an Xbox One is just not justified. In other words, I don't need to play the extra content if I have to pay an arm and a leg to get it. If it's there and it's kind of part of a package that I'm already paying for, or it's really dirt cheap, then it makes more sense for me. So if this goes through, it would be nice if they would allow us to play the original version of the game, and then maybe have an option so that we can play the version of the game with the extra content. Alright, so that pretty much wraps up today's show. Make sure to check out my top 5 game franchises from last gen. Today's YouTube Spotlight shines on a video by Joe Rogan. It's a really good video if you're into like motivational speeches and that sort of thing. It talks about life and being part of a machine and all that kind of stuff. Really, really good video. Check it out if you can. And our sub of the day is Rocky Moore. Links are on the screen and in the description below. And I will see you all right back here tomorrow. Check, check, check. Check it out. Check, check, check to the wreck. Let's begin. Check, check. You ready? Check, check, check on the mic. Check on the mic. You ready? Oh, Lordy, son, it's too early. Check, check, check on the one. Check on the 1, 2. Xonevant on the microphone. You ready? I mean, how many times have we seen singers and musicians? How many times have we seen singers and musicians? I must be drunk. Musicians ain't musicians, they're magicians. Oh, Lordy. Alright, so that's just about all the information we have right now on this particular topic. Dude, is that my stomach? Alright, so this wraps up today's show. Make sure to check out my top 5 game Alright, so that wraps up today's show. Make sure to check out my top 5 game frying pan, French fries, franchise. And remember, if you even miss one dose, alright, right now I want you to close your eyes. I want you to think of the nastiest, filthiest thing you can possibly imagine on the face of this planet. Have you got it? I've got mine. Now eat it.